guys, welcome back to the Creative Cranium. I'm Timothy Fling. We've got a great show for you tonight. This is our Tuesday Night Live and Kung Fu Film Festival. We're going to do a little bit of a creator update, and I've got a new guest. I'd like to introduce him to you guys. Please welcome to the show, Ray Jameson, also known as DM Ray. Welcome, Ray.
Hi there. Ray Jameson, currently about to release The Madcaps, issue number 1, in late April.
Nice. So I am just now hearing about the Madcaps. So tell us what you do on the book.
I'm the creator and writer.
Nice.
And I've gotten a lot of hands-on, a lot of talent to do all of the awesome paint job on the metaphorical car.
That's cool. How did you get lined up to writing comics?
Well, I've always loved comic books, and I've wanted to make my own comic for the longest time. Life gets in the way, as they say. I've got a wife, 3 kids. I have a job. I've got to make sure I've got a roof over our heads, as they say. Not too long ago, I was kicking around the idea of a board game, but I wanted it to look like a comic book. So I found a local artist, and I saw his credentials and actually asked if he'd be interested in doing some interiors for me. And it just kind of grew from there. I found a colorist, a letterer. I found some awesome cover artists, and it just took on this awesome piece of momentum. I'm really excited about this. That cover there, that's the cover of issue 1, the main cover, I should say. That's done by Jimbo Salgado, and it's colored by Dan Kemp, who is Dan has colored over 100 issues of Spawn. It's funny how small of a world it is. All I had to do was ask, and you get a no or a yes, and I got a lot of yeses. I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of support I got for this project.
Yeah, Ray, I got to say, so this is your first book?
Yes, first one I've ever written.
Okay, you got a top-notch team right out of the gate here. I'm actually familiar with both of these two already. So how did you choose your teammates?
Social media. People would post their skills in pictures, and I think that would look good as a cover. That skill, I think, would look good with my characters drawn by that skill. And eventually I ran into Dan Kemp, and I saw his credentials, and yeah, you know what? I remember reading that comic. I remember seeing that comic, and he's the guy. Wow, that's crazy. Well, I've got to get him. And to my surprise, he also said yes. And it just kept going from there. I just kept on asking people. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, this is, I got to say, on this piece in particular, your colorist nailed it. That's Dan Kemp, you said, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, nice contrast with the light and dark.
He definitely knows what he's doing, and he's definitely very experienced in his realm.
Outstanding. And so you said the release date is, what is it?
Late April.
April. And how are we releasing this, Ray? Are you going to a publisher? Is it going to be crowdfunded?
Kickstarter.
Nice. Okay.
We're going, pre-launch is up right now. You can look it up on the Madcaps, issue number 1. It'll show up. The thumbnail is the logo with a black background. It looks pretty slick.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. And so tell you what, let me get this figured out for us, because I want to ask you some things about your publisher. So this is the Madcaps issue 1. That's Filbo Publishing.
Yes.
How did you get lined up with these characters?
So Philip Russert, I have spoken to him on and off for various different reasons. As I was looking for skill sets, potentially logos and artists, we just started talking to each other about different things. I started reviewing other people's comics. The first one I reviewed was actually Philip's. I reviewed Tragedy issues 1 through 5, as 5 was just getting released at the time. Right. And the more I picked his brain about the Madcaps, which I was putting together, the more casual we got to know each other. And eventually I showed him the script for all 3 issues. This is a mini series, and I'm very fortunate he was interested in taking me on and publishing this project.
Nice. And how about, so for writing itself, when you first started writing, are you like Like, were you a short story writer? Were you a novel writer? Or did you start right with comics? What was your first thing?
None of the above. So it's actually interesting. This comic book is based off of the first homebrew tabletop RPG campaign I've ever run as a dungeon master for Dungeons and Dragons. So the only thing that's different is I reworked the characters. Instead of the people I was playing with and their characters, I made my own characters, but the setting is the same. And the characters are they have such a good relationship when you put them in a scenario with outside dynamics. In a lot of ways, it was able to write itself. I was very happy with how it turned out.
Okay. You know, Ray, I got to say, you're off to a pretty good start. That's 85 followers for the Madcaps. So viewers, if you're watching this, please go over right now and give it a follow. This is coming from Filbo Publishing, so you know the book's going to come out. There's almost no risk with one of his projects, and they're known for being high-quality published projects. In fact, I'd like to ask a question or two about your publisher. We'll try and get that right from the horse's mouth, as it were. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Phil Russert. Phil, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the show.
I'm usually called the horse's ass, but I'll take it. How are you?
Thanks for coming aboard. It's great to see you again. We've been talking a little bit tonight with Ray Jameson and the Madcaps. So you're going to be publishing this over at Filbo Publishing, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask you this question then. So what's the grand plan? Because I know you always have like a next step for this. Are you going to another publisher? What's up the street here for the Madcaps?
Well, I mean, we'll do the crowdfund, start the base, and once you get the base and you show that it's a quality book, which it is, that's the tough thing, right? When you're writing and doing stories is it's not like art where you just see it and you say, I love it, it's great, I know it's quality. You have to actually purchase the book and read it and delve into the story to know that it's worth it. So, we do the Kickstarter. We'll start getting our fan base, as you see, is 85 signups, which is pretty good for a first.
That's good for a first book, man. That's great. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
And we look to get the series out, and I have distribution things going on. And by the time the 3 campaigns have done, we funded the book, we've gotten it out, we've gotten a core base. We can go from there based on where Filbo's standings are. I just want to say Ray is very passionate about this, but he's not foolishly passionate, and that's why I work with him, because you have to be able to separate the fanboy from the business, and he can. He's a fanboy at heart. He really loves and is passionate about the content, the story, the genre. But he's also, as you can see, he put together a great creative team because he wants a professionally looking book.
Right. Yeah, for sure, man. And it was just to circle back around to that, Ray, that was Jimbo Salgado on the cover. Is that who we're seeing on the interiors also, or is this another artist?
This is Evan Quiring.
Evan. Okay, sure.
His best stuff, or his most noted stuff, I should say, is Murder City Devil and Lucha Mysteries.
Yep.
He's also a fellow Winnipegger like myself.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks great, man. So let me ask you this question. So Ray, this is going to be your first Kickstarter then as well?
I've had experience with Kickstarters in the past, nothing comic book related.
What could you expand on that a little bit? When you say you have experience, you worked on a campaign, you released cards. What do you?
I've collaborated before, so I have a little bit of experience, and it'll just be fun to collaborate again.
Okay, great. And I was mentioning earlier, it's kind of I'd say that's a pretty good following, 85 already for your first book. And what is your strategy to develop followers to your project?
Well, the big one, as most people use nowadays, is social media. I fortunately have 2 different genres that I can tap into. The first one is the obvious, which is comic books. Mm-hmm. The other one is fantasy and tabletop RPG, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Starfinder. Every once in a while, I don't want to look like I'm spamming. I don't want to just throw and cudgel these people repeatedly with things, but I'll trickle something out, and it's funny. The fantasy community is very, very supportive. I'll say I'm looking for some help. If you could follow this page, it pushes the algorithm in my favor for getting noticed better. And many people will just say right away, done. They didn't even tell me if they're interested in it. They just wanted to support me, which is really, really awesome.
Nice.
And then on the flip side, you show off the art and they're pretty much drooling over it, which I'm definitely flattered. Even though I didn't do it, it's very awesome to see this project getting the good attention that it's getting.
Well, and you have a team you can be proud of there. I think that for the Kickstarter, do you have some time to tell us what kind of rewards you're going to have? Like what kind of features are we going to see on the Kickstarter?
Well, we've got a couple different things. We have some variant covers. So I have 4 different artists that have made 4 different variant covers, one of each character. We also have a nice, lovely pinup by Sean Langley, also colored by Dan Kemp.
Yeah. I love your art team, man. I know all these people. This is, I'll keep an eye out for this project. It
right on. I appreciate that. And also on the flip, or actually, we also have a laser engraved of that Jimbo Salgado cover on wood. It's stainable if you want to stain it, but it definitely looks the part. Also on the fantasy side, on the RPG side, I have a miniature made of every character. And also a 20-sided dice themed after the Madcaps logo, which is paintable. In other words, it doesn't have any ink on it. It's this translucent blue. It almost looks ethereal. Yeah. You could add whatever paint you want and customize it to your own, which is pretty exciting. There's others, but those are the big highlights. There's also we've got some different stretch goals, including a map and some individual bios and concept sketches of the characters. This has been just over 2 years of working on this project, and it's really cool to see it actually a thing as opposed to just talking about it. I'm sure you have friends and everybody's done this themselves. I would really like to do this one day, or I wish I did this back way when, and here I am actually following through, and it's a thing.
It's very gratifying. It's a great experience. Awesome. And I got to say, this sounds really neat. Do you by any chance know a fellow by the name of Chris Saloff? He's the writer of Crit.
Yes. You know what? It's funny. You just gave me a good segue. Tomorrow we're filming it, but I'm not going to release it yet. Chris, Chance Edgarly, myself as the DM. Also, we have one of my cover artists, Jenna Stark, and I have 2 professional D&D players. They're voice actors from California. We're going to be playing a D&D game. It's going to be a prequel to this comic book. And basically what I want to do is after I'm done editing it, I want to release it early April. And in a nutshell, I'm saying, if you don't know if you want to invest into this story, here's a little bit of a taste of in that world, what's going on. But yes, Chris will be with me tomorrow when I'm filming.
That's cool. Yeah, I was gonna say you guys should try and team up somehow. He's a heck of a nice guy, and he's kind of in that field or adjacent, I guess.
Yes, I met him through Cody Johnson, who he just
he's the interviewer guy. Sure.
He suggested Chris to me, so it was really cool to link up with him, like you're saying.
Nice. So let's jump over to Phil. So I guess Phil, you're going to be printing these books too. Are they printed local, printed in China? How are you doing it?
No, they'll be printed local. And like every other campaign fulfillment, the books are done. And so it's just once we collect the funds, they go straight to print.
Oh, are the books? I know you do yours ahead of time.
The first book is done, I should say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we understand you're pledging your money, and you shouldn't have to wait 3, 4, 5 months if you don't have to. So we tried our best to have the book ready, which it is. The files are actually, we're just done. And it's just collect the money, send it to the printer, get all the stretch goals and everything made, and I will be shipping. And as you all know, my fulfillments are very quick and relatively hassle-free, at least on my side. So, sometimes it's unforeseen things, but you can rest assured you will get your money's worth, and you will be treated with the respect and appreciation that we have for our supporters and backers, etc.
I got my package from Phil, trade paperback of the first story arc of Tragedy, and it was sitting in the blowing snow outside. It's completely protected by the elements, and it's beautiful product I got, unscathed by the elements.
Yeah, that's funny. We talk about a lot of different topics on the show, and I was going to do this tonight, but rather than that, I kind of want to talk to Ray and learn about who he was and what he was doing, because we hadn't met yet. But I also want to talk about improving the print quality of our products. And I know that's something that Phil believes in. And by which I mean, things like higher paper quality, thicker cover stock. I'm a fan of the chrome enhanced logos. I know Phil does them too. Also, you do sketch covers too. Yeah, Phil?
I do sketch covers, yes.
Yeah. So do you have off the top of your head, what are some things for collectors that might be available on the Madcaps campaign that'd be kind of special?
Well, like he said, like the laser engraved on the wood, I don't see people doing that. Stretch goals, there's going to be a map, like the Tolkien kind of type of map of the land. If you're an RPG or if you're a tabletop gamer and you like comics, and they often cross over, this is going to be like a marriage made in heaven for you, because and with the minis and the dice, with the D20, there's more interactive things coming with it too. But as far as the book itself, everything's digitally colored now. But when a creator goes the extra mile to make sure that the colorist is a true pro, like Dan Kemp, the art just pops off the page when you get it in your hands. Like what you see digitally is never going to be comparable to what you have in your hands. And you know that, Timothy. Right. You get some great colorists and great work on the books you're dealing with. Yeah. And that, to me, that's where it starts, is getting those colors to pop. And then, of course, like you said, the quality of the paper and the stock, and what printer you go to. I mean, sometimes books don't get cut right.
I was going to say, do you want to disclose? I'm typically a Comics Wellspring user.
Yes.
I know right now they're having their move, but I'm got my biggest order of my life getting ready to go in tomorrow. It's like tomorrow or the next day, but yeah, I got a book.
Yeah, I will say it's been rough with their move, but they are a solid company. I mean, not only their price is the lowest in North America, in the United States, in my opinion, their communication, they've gone above and beyond for me with print file issues. There's a guy named Brian that works there. It's fantastic. So I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, I'll give a quick shout out to Pam. They take care of me over there too. And
Pam's great too.
That's really the secret. And I kind of get this from Ray too, once again, proving the point that especially for publishers or creators or writers, what do they say? 70% of it is being a likable person and being able to form a relationship with that person. In Phil's case, I would say all the right people hate Phil.
Hey, I heard once that any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, it's true.
I can't speak.
Well, so let me ask you this, Ray. So you got the Kickstarter coming up, and I'm positive that this thing is going to fund. It looks like a terrific project.
Thank you.
So what is the next step? Like, do you have a second? What's in that next tank of gas after Madcaps, the book?
So as soon as that campaign's finished, I've got to make a plan from there. So how much money is raised is that should never be a variable, but realistically speaking, that always is.
Right.
Once the campaign is finished, there's a plan of how and when to deliver number 2. I already have a team set up. It's just a matter of executing. The script is done. I'm sure I'll have to refine it a little bit, but then it's right back to the process of pencils and inks. After that, getting the coloring, getting the lettering, and then once I have the pencils and inks done and I hand over to coloring, I think my next step is then speaking to cover artists. This time I did 5, and the only reason I did that, like I was saying, it's the first time these 4 characters are ever introduced in a comic book. So since they're all first appearances, I wanted each cover to focus on one of them.
Right. It's a good idea.
The next comic, issue number 2, I should say, I'm going to have it involved specifically with the story within that book. Different type of imagery. I know exactly how I'm going to lay that out, and I have a rough idea which artists I want, and I think it's going to look really good when it's executed. So that's the plan, and then rinse and repeat. Then get it complete, promote it, launch it, and then on to number 3.
Okay. Now, by the way, you bring up a great point in this. We always say this. And by the way, I do this too. We make it sound so easy, right? Phil's going to love this. Hey, now we just need to promote it. Now it's time for the marketing. Simple, right?
This is my third interview today, to clarify.
It's the hardest part, right? And how do you get these projects out into the world? And so I take it from, let's start there. So the first step is you're doing podcasts, yes?
Yes, I am. And I've thought of, there's always things that haven't been done yet, and I'm just trying to find unique ways that people would appreciate listening to me talk. I mean, each podcast I've been on is very different, but is podcast the only way to go? So, like I said, this is my third one today. Tomorrow, I'm doing that one-shot campaign to give a flavor of the world of what happens within the life of this issue. And I've got 2 trailers coming up. One of them I'm not going to show until the Kickstarter's launched, the full one, but I also have a teaser trailer. So I've actually hired voice actors. I'm going to animate a couple of the pages to show off some of the panels, and the scene, I'm not going to spoil it on here, but Tim, there's a scene involving an interrogation. I won't say any more about that, but the teaser is going to revolve around that page and a half in the book, but I can't say too much more about that. Hi, John.
Drumsticks of Doom creator John Westhoff in the house.
Right on.
John, shout out if you want to come on. You can join us.
If it's okay, I just want to interject for a second. I want to say the appealing thing about Madcaps is, I mean, obviously you can't go wrong with D&D fantasy, right? But what Ray has crafted is not a typical D&D fantasy where it's like, all right, it's not regurgitating anything. It's not derivative of prior stories. It uses all the great elements of Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy while creating a new story in its own right. And we all love Lethal Weapon and all these like buddy cop movies, and they have Tango and Cash or whatever. Well, this is 4 friends that reunite and get involved in a story that we can't give too much away, but in a fantasy world. But you look at the different personalities, you look how they interact, and book 1 is a great introduction to this camaraderie and what they face. So I just thought when I read it and he submitted and I read it, I just thought, all right, you already sold me on the fantasy aspect. It's just a matter of, it's kind of like when you go up to a pretty girl in a bar, right? If you've got 10 seconds to ruin it, it's not 10 seconds to get her, it's 10 seconds to ruin it. So I looked at it and it was great. I just felt it was original. It was different. It wasn't anything that was just regurgitating, So I really encourage you, if you feel that comics are a little stale right now, or they haven't given you anything new, we know that we're selling trust here. Not a book, we're selling trust. You don't know us, and you want to know that your hard-earned money is going to something worth it, and I totally get that. We promise you it is. You're going to enjoy the stories at Filbo right now, Madcaps coming up. And we really feel strongly that you're gonna have books that you can look forward to reading.
Nice. Yeah, that looks like a quality product. Bless you. And I'll tell you, not for nothing, I'm a fan of both the laser engraved is one of my favorites. That's something we do over here, and I'm a map nerd big time. Right. So as soon as you started talking about maps, I was interested right away. And I guess so. This is pretty firmly in the fantasy genre, then, yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. The one thing, like Phil was saying, it's when you have to give an elevator pitch. If I say something like fantasy, people are thinking knights slay dragons, save princess.
Right.
Or if you're saying comic books, okay, well, if it's involving superheroes, then it's not Marvel, I'm not interested, or the opposite. I've it's been done, I'm not interested, which is an unfair judgment. But in this case, I tried to do a real scaled down, focus down. This isn't about the end of the realm. There's no like top realm devouring god or dark lord that's going to be destroying everything. Like, I mean, that's been done, and it's been done very well. I wanted to focus on these 4 people. There happens to be a problem going on at the same time. And basically, and I've said this in one of the interviews earlier today, everybody here has a circle of friends that they don't get to see too much anymore. And when you get to see them, it's awesome. It's a fraction of how things used to be, but it's still great, and you're refreshed afterwards. And these 4 people, when you're around them, you're more likely to be like your inner child. And so my thought process was, if you have 4 people subjected to that dynamic, and there's a problem, how would these people acting like their inner child act? So I wanted to be a police officer when I grow up. And if you're in a serious problem and your friends are around you, you're more likely to be like that thing you wanted to be. And that in a nutshell is what you get for this first issue. It's 3 acts, all 3 issues. And this first issue, I do enough balance of explaining and establishing the characters, but also I have a decent amount of action. There's some high action and low action discussion. I think it has a very good balance for 22 pages.
Yeah, good pace to the story. Absolutely. I mean, the exposition is just what it needs to be. It's not overbearing and boring and slogging down the pace of the story at all.
Cool. Well, let's just show this one more time here. Getting a little bit close to the end of our time, folks, but just one more time, if you'd like to jump over to Kickstarter and give a follow to the Madcaps, that's issue 1, a medieval fantasy miniseries about the reunion of 4 friends interrupted by a local drug problem. This sounds terrific. So this was, what was the date again, right?
April 30th, I believe, is that Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
April 30th, yes.
Are you going to do any kind of launch party or live stream or anything? Or if you would like to,
yes.
I'll help you.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool. I know Phil's got set up, but definitely the more the merrier.
Yeah, I could get behind this one, guys. This looks terrific.
I really appreciate that. No, that's awesome. I've been hearing from the people that have been able to get a review of this copy. I've been getting a lot of. Sometimes you get like Mr. Rogers level. It's almost condescending, like it was great. I haven't had that at all. It's been like legitimate, positive. Like this is, like you said, this is something I can get behind.
Yeah, something a little different too. It'll be interesting to see how this does in the Kickstarter marketplace.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's like a carnival. It's just as scary as it is exciting.
Yeah. My sense is you'll be fine.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah. So other than that, we're just about to our half-hour time. So before we jump out of the room, if we'd like to just say one more time where we can find you and where we can find your work, we'll start with Ray Jameson, also known as DM Ray. Where can we find you, Ray?
You can find me on Facebook as DM Ray. On Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at Raymond the DM. DM Ray was taken, unfortunately. You can find my Madcaps page on Facebook as well. And everything else is through Phil Russert and Philbo Publishing.
Very nice, very nice. Phil, you get the last word. Where can we find Philbo Publishing?
Oh, wow. You know, in over 10 years of marriage, I never got the last word. So on Facebook, you can go to Philbo Publishing, has a page. Instagram also has a page. But to be honest with you, because of the Facebook algorithm and how it buries business pages, the best way to engage with me, get information, etc., is go to Phil Russert on Instagram and Philip Russert on Facebook. We post regularly. We post often. I post many topics, tons of topics, and but we will show you a lot of the goodies we have going on. I mean, we have a lot of great stuff coming from Filbo. We have a campaign running right now with Night issue 5. We have a campaign for the Tragedy Sequential Art Edition next month, and then it's Madcaps, and Madcaps is going to come out, and it's going to do really well. I really believe it, because it deserves to. It should.
I'm excited.
Excellent, excellent. Well, guys, I wish you the best of luck with this project. To the viewers for tuning in, thanks for coming to Tuesday Night Live. That's the creator update. We'll see the rest of you guys on Friday night. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for having us.